Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video I'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 9 of the anime series, Noragami. And this was a hell of an interesting episode, I have to say, quite literally picking up right where we left off at the end of the previous episode, with Yato having been brought by Hiyori to Daikoku and Kofuku with Yukine in tow. And Yato is laid out for the count. He's on the ground, the blight overtaking his form, killing him little by little. Daikoku's answer to which is to create that barrier, as we saw at the end of the last episode. He doesn't want Yato or Yukine anywhere near Kofuku's shrine and stuff like that. Now, it's only after some pleading that he lets Hiyori in and tells Kofuku to help her cleanse herself of the blight that's rubbed off on her from Yato. But it's just insane how he opened this episode, because Daikoku realizes, before anyone I think, that Yukine is distanced. The psychological torment of everything he's been through, having to deal and cope with the realization that as a young soul who died early, he will not have a living presence. He will not be able to live amongst the living and have a full life like he wishes he could. This is really added to the torment and the angst of his young teenage years, and he's rebelled. All of those nasty things that he's done in previous episodes, stealing money, stealing a skateboard, trying to feel up Hiyori, as he puts it, other things, telling lies. All of these things have come to fruition, and they're really going to be made to pay. There are only two potential recourses. One is to completely slay Yukine outright, and remove the sort of bane that he has put on the existence of Yato. And I think it's by Yato's hand that this would have to happen, but we see that he is not willing to kill Yukine. It's the last thing he would ever do. Now, the other recourse is, of course, as Daikoku basically tells us, an albution, a form of punishment that requires 3 fellow regalia to kind of judge him. Only apparently regalias can judge other regalias fully, and Daikoku kind of puts himself up as being in place of one of those necessary 3. Now, he takes off right after that and basically goes looking for further help. He visits that very knowledgeable teacher god and finds Tomone, the regalia of Yato, who quit on him in the first episode. She is the only one of the many regalias that this particular god has who's willing to do something for Yato. So we see that there is some sense of loyalty on her part, and I was astounded by that. I thought that was really awesome that she would help if she could. Now, the third that they end up finally getting, Hiyori has taken it upon herself to try to find another regalia, and the first instinct she has is Nora. But as she soon realizes, Nora is not all there. She's very much a threat, and she would kill Yukine. She'd rather do that than anything positive, trying to save them or anything like that. And so she goes to Bishamon's shrine, just screaming and screaming and screaming for Kazuma. And it's interesting because it's almost as though Bishamon has a sense that something's up, but she doesn't admit to it. She kind of just questions Kazuma, what's up, Kazuma? And so he finally shuts Hiyori up, and they all go back to, of course, Kofuku's shrine, where Yato is just sprawled still, coughing up blood. You had Yukine almost trying to leave, because he just, as I say, he's distanced himself from the ramifications, if he can even comprehend the full length, the full detail of what's happening, what's about to unfold. And they create these 3 regalias together, a sort of triangular prison barrier around him. They're forcing him through this albution, which requires that, unless he admits to all of his transgressions and asks for forgiveness, he will be overtaken by a phantom. Now, what we see as he takes his shirt off, per Daikoku's ordering him to do so, he already has a full-on phantom in effect on his back. I mean, his back is like 10 eyeballs just floating there in purple sort of blight and everything, just nasty as all hell, as they're all like tuning around, looking around. Even voices of a phantom are coming off him, and he's freaking out. And because of his disdain for the situation that he's in, he very nearly loses himself to this. He becomes transformed. The sort of demon wings come out of his back. He's got the demon eye taking effect. He's very much losing what made him a human being in the first place, the positive energy of his soul. And Yato gets to the point where he realizes he's got to say Yukune's name. He's got to make it a personal connection. And he already kind of does this in between because Yukune thinks he doesn't have friends. He thinks he's just a wandering spirit who's going to be forced to be the slave of Yato for all eternity or what have you. He's not associating living aspects to his sort of spirit form, his ghost form. And he already is saying, I won't be your friend anymore. If you let Yato die, if you let yourself transform and lose yourself to that dark side of the nether realm, then forget it. We're not friends. I call it quits. Finally, in that moment, Yato calls out his name and says, I gave you this human name. I allowed you this. Be a human. Do the right thing. And it just amazed me that all of these regalias that we've met over the course of the series have come together. Yato and Hiyori have come together. Hiyori being just badass as all hell as Yato has only but to acknowledge the fact that she has literally, single-handedly almost, saved them. If she hadn't carried Yato to Kafuku's shrine, this never would have taken effect. They never would have been able to be saved. And I was getting misty-eyed in the aftermath. The three of them, the unit of Yato, Yukine, and Hiyori, have come together, and they surpassed all odds in this episode, but not without repercussions, which is where we have a teaser for the next sort of line of the story for the last stretch of episodes, which has to do with Nora waking up this character called Rabo. I'm wondering if this harkens back to this mystery, this overhanging cloud of the relationship between Kazuma, Yato, and perhaps this Rabo character. It seems like he's doubting that this is the legit Yato, god of calamity. Maybe it's just an up-and-comer wannabe god or something like that. And I can't wait to see how it's all going to wrap up from here. Otherwise, that'll be pretty much it for me on this. I hope this video finds you well. I'll catch you all later. Peace.